remotely. It's really pouring rain again today. Again, expecting to go all the way through the weekend. I guess to start off on some interesting note, I got a response for the SFOC stuff. So apparently the person I tried to contact before, they forwarded the email to someone local, or more local here rather. And basically the person was trying to tell me what they mean by detect and avoid and all that. And essentially at first they're telling me, well, read the documents, follow, this is what you need to do. It gave me some pointers like, for example, how are you going to detect other aircrafts and all that. Whereas with my perspective, like I said, my confusion before was with the way I'm flying it, realistically, literally, your eyes and your ears are the best tool to actually use and so forth. So at first I emailed them, okay, well, is this what you want me to use, for example? Was this adequate? Showing things like, for example, the radars. I actually have that on my phone where you can see real-time flights and all that. And one thing is, just from things like, say, emergency, contingency, and worst case scenarios, I wrote down worst case scenario, for example, to my understanding, with the drone for the operation, the max height would be about 500 meters, if the thing had a flyway and all that. To my point of view, basically that's to say, hey, look, I'm in an uncontrolled airspace. It's so far away from the airports and all that. There should be absolutely no commercial planes. So even worst case, that shouldn't hit a commercial plane or anything like that. And I said the drone can move at this speed and all that. So apparently I think from that point of view, they were looking at, oh my god, 500 meters or whatever, no way, it's so dangerous, in their point of view. That's where I got anyways from the sound of it. Because I even clarified the thing, my goal is to basically just fly within line of sight. There's so many factors, if I can't see it, basically, I'm not gonna fly it any further. But then he kind of mentioned in general, I think in Canada, he says no one has ever flown for a request, for example, past even 800 feet. Apparently that was around the threshold, so that's kind of interesting to hear. But with all that said though, at the end, he basically said something along the lines of, it's suggested if I want to fly even over 400 feet, I do it in a controlled airspace, because that way Nav Canada can provide everything for the detect and avoid and all that. So that's kind of interesting. To me, that's one of the most interesting things to think about. No, don't fly in uncontrolled airspace, over 400 feet or whatever, in this case. Do it in a controlled airspace. Kind of reminds me of, remember how I said the perspective where for a lot of man pilots are uncontrolled airspace, oh man, shiver or whatever, so dangerous. Whereas controlled airspace is okay, everything's organized and all that. I even mentioned, to me, in my point of view, just from reading all the documents and all that, I give the maps, I showed the reports and all that in terms of where I'm flying, how. It's not in the flight paths of any commercial airlines, no way. The max, if it's screwed up or whatever, would go 500 meters, and the planes realistically, the commercial ones or whatever, they should be what, 4,000, 10,000 feet up in the air. So it's virtually no risk, from my point of view, just from a drone operator, just from doing it for so long. Because I was hoping as well, if for some odd reason they say, oh no, in their mind, it's only good to fly for 450 feet or something like that, then just, tell me. Kind of the Nav Canada stuff. So ultimately in the email, I basically responded saying, well, I'm just trying to get clarification overall, because I know just in terms of things operating a drone from experience, when you say one thing as a drone operator, someone with a traditional manned aviation background will probably see it completely different in terms of things like safety and all that. So I even said, well, it comes down to hands-on experience, and at this point, it basically comes down to, well, you tell me what you think is, quote, safe with how I'm flying it. Because with how I'm flying it, with the type of drone I'm using and all that, it should be one of the safest type of operations. It's probably safer than requesting to fly in an advertised event or something like that, with a drone. Because in some ways it makes me feel this conversation is going to end up kind of say, a gymnast who's used to doing backflips all the time, perfectly safe, is gonna go to say, I don't know, an event and say, hey, this is what I want to do for a show, basically do backflips on a spot there. Whereas a person who doesn't do backflips normally, they will look at it and say, oh my god, that sounds so dangerous, because they've never done it before themselves and they're not really, I guess, trained in that way. And that's what it feels like in many ways right now, in terms of the things I'm reading and all these procedures and all that. So hopefully we'll get some clarification, because it's basically a learning process too, just to see on that other side, what do they consider as quote, I guess, safe operation and all that, versus what it really is in practicality. Because like I said, in this situation, honestly, I said visual line of sight in terms of looking at the drone and so forth. It's a lot safer, and that is the best way to be safe in this case. Because even in a worst case scenario, I must be the worst flyer in the world if I can't dodge, like let's say an airplane that just magically appeared all of a sudden. If I can't move the drone like down, for example, that fast to dodge it, it should only take like what, 1 or 3 seconds or so. That plane would literally have to like teleport to me to actually like, you know, hit anything, for example. How about the title of this story I read today? It says, Turkey is getting military drones armed with machine guns. A drone with a machine gun attached can hit targets with high precision, according to its maker. Turkey is set to become the first country to have the drone when it gets delivered this month. The 25-kilogram drone has 8 rotating blades to get it in the air. Its machine gun carries 200 rounds of ammunition and can fire single shots or 15-round bursts. Look at the size of that controller and stuff too. How much would that thing cost, you think? It says here, many countries and groups already use small military drones that can drop grenades or fly into a target to detonate an explosive. The new drone, called Songar, and made by Ankara-based electronics firm Asisguard, is the first drone to be equipped with a firearm and be ready for service. Turkey expects the drone to be delivered before the end of the year. It is hard for a drone to shoot accurately, partly because of the difficulty of judging range and angle, and partly because of the recoil from each shot significantly moves the drone, affecting the aim for the next round. Songar has 2 systems to overcome these challenges. One uses sensors, including cameras and a laser rangefinder, to calculate distance, angle, wind speed, and work out where to aim. The second is a set of robot arms that move the machine gun to compensate for the effects of recoil. Asisguard says improvements to Songar's accuracy mean it will soon be able to hit targets from more than 400 meters away. Whoa, is everyone going to be terrified now? I guess drones flying in the air because of stuff like this. And it's not just this drone can fly with a machine gun. I mean, it says here it has sensors to operate in the dark. It can fly 10 kilometers, and you can basically fly a swarm of them, it says. It says 3 Songars can be flown using a single remote control, with all 3 firing at targets simultaneously. I think generally speaking, this is the kind of stuff that people think about, right? When they think about like a drone in the air. All huge ones with military applications. You can attach weapons and so forth. Rain, rain, you're supposed to go away soon. Well, you're still here today. I guess it's time for the archive. Alright, see you guys later.